Thank you very much for making a date. Welcome back to the marketplace. Now, the Secretariat Rural Bank says it expects to venture into other parts of the country outside the Ashanti region next year. The bank currently has a capital base of over 2 million Ghana cedis, which is double the Bank of Ghana's minimum capital requirement for the sector. Board Chairman Francis Dente says feasibility assessment is ongoing to extend its services to other regions. Nanaya Ojima was at the bank's annual general meeting and has filed this report.
Per Bank of Ghana's regulations, rural banks with 2 million cedis capital may opt to extend services to regions outside their operational jurisdiction. With prudent financial management, managers of the bank are patting themselves at the back for growing deposits. Board Chairman Francis Dente says potential areas of viability will be determined for the expansion drive.
Indeed, as I have already informed you, the Bank of Ghana requirement was 1 million. And if you get 1 million, you only operate in one region. But once you get 2 million, you are given the opportunity to operate outside your region. So in this respect, such a rural bank, at the moment as we speak, can even open branches outside Ashanti region.
But do you have any plans on doing that?
Of course. It depends on where we see opportunities. We want to help Ghana. We want to help customers. And so wherever, as we speak now, some of our customers are even in Accra. So it would be good if we could go to Accra so that we are close to our customers over there. So wherever we see opportunities and we can serve the customers, we will venture.
Mr. Dente wants Ghanaians to restore confidence in the banking sector for local and national economic growth.
The financial sector is what holds the whole country. And so my advice is that we should continue to have confidence in the financial system. After all, we have Bank of Ghana, who is trying to strengthen the financial system. And so we should not worry at all, because at least we have financial institutions that are doing well. We have the Bank of Ghana, which is controlling the financial systems. They are still keeping to strengthening the commercial, the banking system in Ghana. And so let us give them the opportunity to continue to strengthen the financial system.
Nanaya Ojima reporting.
Now, it's barely 4 days to the end of the year. The Bank of Ghana's new minimum capital requirement deadline is also due. Now, so what should be the fate of other commercial banks that will not be able to meet the capital requirement of 400 million Ghana cedis after December 31? It appears Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Ernest Addison, would have to answer come January 2, 2019. George Rafe has more in this report.
Depending on who you engage, it is still not clear what will finally happen to any commercial bank that has not got the 400 million Ghana cedis as the stated capital come January 1, 2019. However, some trusted sources say the central bank would surely ask that bank that have not met the capital after December to surrender its universal banking license and take up a savings and loans license. Information that we are picking up again suggests the central bank could give some waivers to banks that are about 90% through to finalize their documentations. So, for instance, if Kokomlele Bank, as at December 31, has a stated capital of 370 million Ghana cedis and has secured the necessary commitment, it could be given some small time to fast-track the process for the remaining 30 million Ghana cedis to reflect in its books. Since the last time that the central bank updated the public on the number of banks that have recapitalized, additional 4 banks have announced that they've met these new capital levels. But the central bank may still have to confirm this after its audit. However, some have also argued we should expect some surprises. So keep your fingers crossed.
Let's turn our attention to other stories within the financial sector. An investment banker and CEO of Echo Capital Investments, Dela Agbo, says the men's gold situation could worsen the level of non-performing loans on books of various commercial banks. He said the regulators should have moved in immediately to clamp down on activities of the gold dealership firm and not just caution the public against dealing with it. The CEO of Echo Capital Investments says investors who may have gone for loans from various banks ostensibly for their businesses, but rather invested in men's gold, may not be able to pay back these loans to the banks.
The government or the regulators or the state officials should have moved in quickly to restrict the owners of the institutions not to move out. In fact, in some cases, they will have seize their passports. Because I've seen how US handle Madoff Ponzi scheme. Okay, he was quickly arrested. They started doing investigation. They realized that he was running Ponzi scheme. They quickly started seizing his assets. They quickly sentenced the man to, I think, 99 years or some years in prison. And whatever steps you take can have positive or negative effects on the economy. There are employers that have taken a lot of their monies 2 months ago. Now they have to lay off their employees.
Okay. So it's impacting the economy.
Now they are not able to pay their taxes, right? Now the employees are not able. To end their incomes. So whatever decision you make impacts the economy. The government is supreme. If the thing is not right, you don't just give warnings. You stop it. The risk that we're having now could be that a lot of individuals want to take advantage of the spread, right? The interest rate spread. They have gone to a lot of banks, savings and loans, microfinance, investment houses, and collect a lot of money for their businesses. But they will not go and give it to their businesses, but will go and place it with Men's Gold. And if what we are hearing is what's happening, that is going to impact the banks as well, the savings and loans as well, the microfinance as well. So the effect is going to be that you will end up seeing a lot more non-performing loans, where a lot of people that have gone to these institutions and take money with the mindset that the returns to be getting from Men's Gold will use that to pay. Now, if it ceases, they are going to default on their loans that they've taken from these institutions.
Meanwhile, CEO of Echo Capital Investments, Dela Agbo, says this is a good time to be a shareholder of oil marketing company GOIL's shares to increase their shares and celebrate the fortunes of the company on the local stocks market. He says GOIL prices have already started going up with the announcement of the partnership with international oil giant ExxonMobil last month. Dela Agbo says the move is an endorsement of the local oil company doing business or doing the right things within the industry.
We have a company like ExxonMobil, which is one of the biggest in the U.S. market, and is coming to partner you. I have not seen the detail of the agreement. I don't know how much 5%. Or 5%. So if GOIL is taking 5%, it means that GOIL is going to be generating additional 5% of revenues, right? So whatever ExxonMobil is going to be making out of this deal, GOIL will also be entitled to about 5% of it. So this is going to help GOIL in terms of its revenue. Okay, so they're going to generate a lot more money. So it's a good time for people who are shareholders of GOIL should celebrate and invest more money in GOIL. Because what it means is that now you know that GOIL is going to be making more money. And if GOIL makes more money, what it means that they'll be able to pay you very high dividends. Looking at the company, the strength, the financial muscle of this company moving in, it means that it's going to position GOIL to be one of the strongest in our sector, in the local market, right? So it means that they'll also be able to generate a lot more revenue, right? And position them as such of future growth, where they themselves can also move in. Because don't forget, it's not only going to bring them money, but it's also going to bring them expertise, right? Where they will learn from ExxonMobil and be able to move on to do bigger things themselves. So it means that if you own shares in it now, it's a good time to be a GOIL shareholder and be able to celebrate the growth that they're experiencing. Don't forget, if you are not doing the right things, there is no way an American company will select you. I've seen the prices start going back up, which is a good thing, because a few weeks ago it dropped to about 2 cedis, 30% thereabout. Yes, but now it has gone back to about 3 cedis plus something last week when I saw it. So it started going back up. So we need to all look at it and take advantage of it.
Now, we are not required to list on the Ghana Stock Exchange now as part of our 4G licensing requirement. According to CEO of Vodafone Ghana, Yolanda Zoleka Kuba, government has already taken a significant stake in the business. Mobile operators, as part of the 4G license obligations, are supposed to offload some 30% of their business for local participation. Yolanda Kuba was speaking to Joy Business in an interview.
For me, really, it's around timing, around issues of listing. We have to look at our balance sheet. We said we need to fix our balance sheet. We have to fix the sustainability of our income statement, and then only can we talk about any kind of listing. Because people want to actually invest in a company that is sustainable over the long term. And that's really where we're trying to get the company to. That's why we went for the balance sheet restructure. That's why we've gone for the 4G spectrum. And that's why we're actually working on our income statement to make sure that we are a sustainable business. So I can't give you timing because I don't control timing. As management, what we do is we actually fix everything that needs to be fixed within the business and actually make sure that the company is sustainable. The decision on when to list and how to list is actually that of shareholders. So as management, we don't actually play around in that decision. It's really the decision of the government of Ghana and Vodafone Group. But
let's still stay on the stock market because beginning next year, the Ghana Stock Exchange says it will pay more attention to the alternative market, also known as the Ghana Alternative Exchange or GAX. This will enable more small and medium-scale enterprises that lack the capacity to meet requirements for listing on the main market to do so. According to Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Stock Exchange, Kofi Yamoa, there is a great potential on the alternative market for investors.
Of 2018 was generally good for investors on the Ghana Stock Exchange, recording a year high of 35.62% in April before slowing to 11.62% by end of June. One of the biggest news to hit the market was the launch of telecom giant MTN's IPO. However, the banking sector crisis brought some pressure on the market's slowing activities. Moving into 2019, the Ghana Stock Exchange says it will be focusing on an alternative market for the SME sector. Chief Executive of the Stock Exchange is Kofi Yamoa.
Going forward, we believe that all of us must also focus on the GAX because it brings a number of advantages, particularly for SMEs. Indeed, the GAX is targeted at SMEs, including startups. The idea is for many of these companies out there called SMEs to utilize the market, raise capital, retool, expand, so that these companies who outlive the founders of the companies, these companies will be able to share their future with the general investing public, be able to become much bigger than they were founded. And so the economy will also be better off in terms of employment creation, wealth creation, and so forth.
He disputed claims the alternative market is inferior to the main market.
It's a separate market from the main market. It is not inferior to the main market. Like I took pains to explain to somebody, I wouldn't regard this as somebody being premier and somebody being first division, if you liken it to sports. Because in terms of performance, there could be a company on an alternative market that is doing better in terms of price discovery, in terms of dividend payments, than a company on the main market. So we will not put it that way in terms of A and B or A1 and A2. It's on its own.
Since its establishment, the alternative market has had 5 listings. A member of the group, Indum Digicat, was listed on the market in the second quarter of this year.
Away from the market now to some oil and gas stories. And CEO of oil marketing company Petrosol, Mike Bozumbil, says even though 2018 was quite a difficult one for the industry players, the situation improved in the second half of the year. He praised government for capping the special petroleum tax on petroleum products, which he noted brought some big relief to oil marketing companies. Mike Bozumbil appealed to the Ghana Revenue Authority to make payment of taxes a bit more flexible next year.
The first half of the year has been very, very tough, very challenging, and that was because of the activities of the illegal operators were evading taxes and selling product at very low prices and even bringing in substandard products. So that actually affected the industry, badly. But from July, this year, that's the second half, when Ghana Revenue Authority and NPA came together to put in stringent measures to make sure that those illegal operators were dealt with. We, as an industry generally, we began seeing a positive trend in our sales numbers, at least for those of us who are doing genuine, legitimate business and declaring our petroleum products taxes, properly. So we started seeing a positive trend. So for second half, it's been much better than the first half. We have to end the year, and we'll see whether the second half gains will be able to wipe off the huge losses we accumulated in the first half or not. But it's been a very tough year. For the tax removals per se, it's more to do with last year. Most of the major taxes were taken off last year. Okay. This year had to do with the capping of the special petroleum tax. It brought in some significant benefit for the industry, because if it were still in its percentage form, which is a 17.5%, it means I would have been paying much higher.
Let's go upstream now. And 16 oil and gas firms have formally submitted their bids to own some of the country's new auctioned oil blocks. Joy Business earlier disclosed in the week that 60 firms have expressed interest in these blocks. There's more in this report.
According to the Reuters news agency, the 16 oil firms include Tullow Oil, Total, Eni, Cairn, Harmony Oil and Gas Corporation, ExxonMobil, CNOOC, Qatar Petroleum, BP Vital, Global Petroleum Group, Accra Energy, First E&P, Cosmos, Sasol, and Equinor. These are the names of the major international oil firms that have expressed interest to own auctioned oil blocks. We, however, understand that the rest are joint partnerships as led by local firms. But Deputy Minister in charge of Petroleum, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, has told Joy Business that they have put in place measures to ensure that no local firm is fronting for a foreign firm.
Our local content regulations frown on fronting. So fronting is criminal, it's criminalized by our laws. We need to be able to enforce these regulations to ensure that we don't promote fronting. But there is the other side to it. People are so intelligent. They will find ways to flout the rules. And this is why this government has passed the General Petroleum Regulations, which made two significant provisions that should help all of us, citizens of Ghana, to fight fronting. Number one, we have created a petroleum register, and the regulations have provided rules for managing the petroleum register. On this petroleum register are published all petroleum agreements, all authorizations, permits, licenses, they are all published. And so, if you want to know who are the owners of a petroleum agreement or the contractors involved in a petroleum agreement, you can go to the petroleum register and see for yourself the content and the signatories on the government side, but also on the contractor side. The second one is the provision in this regulation which now makes it mandatory for information on beneficial owners to be published.
Government earlier this year opened the doors to accept bids for the country's 6 new oil blocks. 4 would be auctioned, while the remaining 2 would be handled under a special arrangement. Government is hoping to make Ghana a hub for petroleum-related activities by attracting more international firms into the country.
Let's now do some international business now. And shares in South Africa's telecoms giant MTN jumped 8% on Thursday after it settled a row with Nigeria's central bank for a fraction of the $8.1 billion it had threatened to cost. MTN had earlier announced it would pay just $52.6 million to end the dispute in Nigeria, its biggest and most lucrative market.
MTN, Africa's biggest telecoms company, for 4 months, dragging its share price down by 20% to hover around its lowest since 2009, while also sparking pessimism around the ease of doing business in Nigeria. It centered on allegations that dividends paid by the firm between 2007 and 2015 were based on improperly issued certificates. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, had initially ordered MTN and its lenders to bring back $8.1 billion it alleged the company had illegally repatriated to South Africa during that time. But after MTN provided additional documents, the Central Bank concluded only one 2008 private placement worth around $1 billion was irregular. MTN agreed to pay $52.6 million as a national reversal of this transaction. In a statement on Monday, MTN Nigeria said it will pay the notional reversal amount without admission of liability, announcing the settlement. The central bank's initial order threatened to wipe out more than half of MTN's market capitalization at the time it was issued in August, and spooked investors just as the company was trying to reassure them of its frontier market-focused strategy after a series of costly legal problems. MTN is Nigeria's biggest operator with 52.3 million users in 2017, and the country's accounts for 1/3 of the firm's annual core profits.
And on that note, we wrap up this afternoon's edition of The Marketplace. I want to use this opportunity once again to thank so much everybody who has kept faith with The Marketplace with us throughout the year. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji, and on behalf of the production and technical crew, I wish you a prosperous new year. Have a good afternoon.